Hi, Annie. How are you?
Good. How are you, Amy?
It's great to see you. I'm so glad we could get together today for coffee and catch up on everything. You have your own travel business, and I can imagine things have been different for you these past few months. So I look forward to hearing about what you've been doing and in the situation that we're in, where the world is actually on lockdown. How do you run a travel company? So what has been going on for you?
Wow, a lot has been happening. We run culinary trips to Italy, Peru, Malaysia, and Japan. And we had trips scheduled for March, May, and later in this year, but it was becoming very apparent very early that we weren't going to be able to travel at least in the spring, if not the full year. And so we started postponing our trips. And thinking about, what does quarantine across the world look like for a travel company, and how can we continue providing value and connecting people in the way that we normally do when we're able to go overseas or visit somebody in another country. And so early on in March, we decided to host virtual cooking classes that are interactive with our chefs in other countries.
Awesome. Well, I know you, so I know the two things you love most in the world are travel and food. Probably food, then travel, and and then maybe people are in third place. So I can see how you, under the restrictions of traveling, immediately pivoted and started to take your loves of food and people and bring people together through food. What has that been like? Has been some of your experiences doing that?
Yeah, it's been incredible because I think when we were solely a travel company, more or less, we were able to connect people across the world, but we had such small groups and such intimate settings. And it's definitely a more luxury service or product. And so we had a smaller segment of people that we're able to provide value to through our connections. And the nice thing about the cooking classes, doing them virtually and being able to, talk with the chef and cook with somebody in Italy or Japan,
Wow.
gives a wider audience to the ability to connect with different cultures and different foods, even from their own home. So I think that's been a really big joy for us, to be able to expand our ability to create community.
Hmm. Yeah. I love how you took a challenge, an entrepreneurial challenge, and you reached out to try to help others in the process of the struggle that you came upon, some of your partners in these countries. Can you tell me about how they've experienced this, like your friends in Italy and Peru, and how these classes have helped them?
Yeah, I would say, it was a very scrappy beginning, but I think because of that, it created a lot of really goodwill. We Because we're so close with a lot of friends in Italy and they locked down much earlier, I was having these conversations in mid-May or mid-March, before it really became a big issue in the US and before we realized that we would go into shelter in place as well.
Mhm.
So it was astounding to me from the very beginning to be listening to friends of mine in Italy who are tour guides, restaurant chefs, like owners of small shops and things like that, that they were like, their businesses and their livelihoods were annihilated overnight. And although we could see that that might happen for us down the pipeline, I think what struck me was like, these people had no way of making any income during that time. And so it's been nice to be able to provide some supplemental income for them. And the way that we've done it is, at the time, we had no idea what to price a virtual cooking class at. And I mean, like, it's a totally different service.
Because you were making it up as you were going, right?
100%. I was making phone calls to people asking, like, what would you pay for this? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think anybody would participate? And we didn't know. And so the beauty of it was that the chefs that we work with across the world, when I asked them, hey, would you be interested in this? They said, and what can I pay you? They said, let's just see whether or not it works. Let's experiment. And if it works, then we'll figure out the money. And at that point, it was very clear to me that if they were going to assume this risk with us, we would like them to ride the rewards as well. And so we did a 50% of the proceeds go directly to the chefs. And the model on the consumer side is that it's pay what you can. So people from a lot of different walks of life can still participate and have exposure to these amazing home cooks and chefs who are sharing their family recipes.
That is so incredible, Annie. How inspiring.
Thanks.
That is so cool. I love it. And I know you, so I know that you're scrappy and you figure things out. One of my fondest memories is working with you on the community project for Mary McClinton home when we renovated the house, and both of us weren't very qualified to do construction. So I think they put us on the garbage committee or something. But I have fond memories of you and I and Rochelle sitting down after a long day eating Ezel's out of takeout boxes, eating Ezel's chicken. It was so delicious. But, you know, and I also think that, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to be scrappy because obstacles come. And so what are some of the lessons that you've learned about yourself, about facing adversity, about resilience during this time? What are some things that you've learned?
This has been a huge growth opportunity for me, and I've learned so much in the last 6 months. I think some of my key takeaways are, number one, having really difficult conversations and like showing up for those conversations with intent and purpose, and also knowing where I stand or where my business stands and where our team stands on things to draw some boundaries in those difficult decisions, because there's a lot of things that have evolved and changed. Yeah. And I think the second thing is, the big one that sticks out to me is about team. And personally, I knew that I had a lot of growth in terms of being able to delegate and let go and trust other people. And historically, our company has always been 2 or 3 people max, with contractors or people who help with different things. And I held on so tightly to everything. I didn't want to let anything go. And through this process, I realized I have to build a team. I can't do this by myself. I can't know every process. I have to trust and build a team that I trust to handle it with the care and love that I expect. And it's been really amazing to see how our teams come together to make this all happen and work. And I think a strong part of that is being able to create community internally in our organization during a really challenging time.
Yes. And isn't it interesting how that's what your cooking classes have been doing for teams, is to bring them together in community? Tell me about some of the things those teams have experienced that have really inspired you.
Yeah, we've been doing some of our cooking classes as private events for different companies and for internal teams. And one of the things that we've gotten a lot of feedback on is, like, people have serious Zoom fatigue, and they're sick of doing these happy hours or things where they're just looking at each other and talking. And one thing that we've noticed is that our classes are so interactive. Like, you're in the kitchen, you're doing something. So even though you're coming back and forth with the people on Zoom, you're getting your hands dirty, and the real-time experience of doing that with other people on your team, and everybody's a little bit outside their comfort zone, actually makes people feel like they're interacting more together and building a bond. Like, not a lot of people have made pasta before. And so to have, a company of 8 people that are making pasta together and laughing about the fact that Eric's pasta looks terrible, it's a bonding experience that they're having. And we've gotten a lot of feedback that helps them feel like they're together even when they're not.
That would be me, my pasta. I love that. That's so awesome. And as you think about other entrepreneurs who may be struggling, like you have pivoted and helped so many other entrepreneurs internationally, what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs right now during this time?
Yeah, I think that it's really challenging because there's no one right method for advice for any that's
Mhm.
going to work for every company. But what I would say is that as our primary service and value became obsolete,
Mhm.
one thing that I was really focused on is like this kind of decision matrix of what we're going to do next. And those things that were critical to me are, how are we going to create value? How are we going to align with our mission and our vision and our core values internally? And what are we uniquely positioned to do? And I think for us, a lot of that was based around the relationships that we had. So as I had a storm of ideas at the very beginning, I was really trying to focus on what are the things that align with those three items.
I love it. Staying true to your vision, staying true to your mission, and staying
Which
true.
is hard. It's hard to stay focused and take a risk like that when you're like, I've never done this before. But I think that's the nature of entrepreneurs that I enjoy, is that adventuresome spirit of trying something.
Yes. Well, I can't wait to try one of your cooking classes. I'm going to get some friends together and let's try to make some gnocchi or something amazing.
Oh yes, gnocchi.
It's been so great talking with you, Annie. Thank you so much for having
Thank you.
coffee with me today.
Thank you.
All the best to you.